Greetings, my name is 𝑗ake_Gardner, and I'm one of the pastors here at the Church of 𝑊𝑒. I desire to take a moment and speak to you concerning a video that was published by Paul Washer a couple of years ago. On YouTube, it's titled, "Do Not Love the World," and it's supposed to be a response to Discerning the Church of 𝑊𝑒. Discerning the Church of 𝑊𝑒 was incidentally created by the brother-in-law of none other than Paul Washer, who's named John Green, and who was the then religious media specialist for Heart Cry Missionary Society, which is the ministry of Paul Washer. So essentially in this video, Paul Washer is responding to his own question about us, revolving around the understanding of 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 and 16. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. Now, Paul Washer in this video is implicating the Church of 𝑊𝑒 to be heretics in their understanding of this text, and as it would appear are cold, heartless, unfeeling ascetics who would never dream of dancing with their wives, nor ever imagine taking a kayak up a river, or ever begin to dream of taking in the beautiful creation of God's handiwork in a sunrise. Now, not only could these conclusions be further from the truth, but beyond that, they are uncharitably concluded upon by Paul Washer, who has never even searched us out personally. He's never reached out to us. He's never inquired of us what we believe about 1 John 2, 15 and 16. He is just following his own imaginations and the scary stories and myths which he has caused to be promoted and surround the Church of 𝑊𝑒, seeing as they have come to the conclusion that they have no responsibility to follow biblical due process with us as true brothers and sisters in Christ, because, as Mark Glass wrote us in the year 2012, older, wiser, godlier men than ourselves had already tried, and we wouldn't listen to them. Therefore, they excused themselves so many years ago, almost a decade now ago, they excused themselves from the moral, spiritual responsibility to the law of God to follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Now, it has not been thus with us, as we have sought to reach out to Paul many times over these past 10 years and have had absolutely no correspondence with him. He has been unresponsive to us, and this is a grief to us because we believe that he is a part of our common family in Christ, and we believe him to be a true blood-bought brother. And though he may not accept us as such, he has not done the diligence to make that conclusion, and yet he is bold to denounce us, to reject us, and to warn everyone against us without ever charitably, personally coming to speak to us. And I pray that God would give him conviction in his spirit about this thing, as the days are evil and the time is short. Now, truly, if these slanders were not so destructive to the minds of believers who are simply believing the words that Paul Washer is saying, they would be almost laughable, because they could not be further from the truth. By God's grace, I can say that for above the past 10 years, my wife and I have been dancing, and we still are, and we still intend to until the end, by his grace. And not only so, but now I am dancing with my 5 little ones that God has graciously given to us. Now, for me, this is not a trouble in my conscience. I don't feel bound from doing this, or there is no conscientious debate in my soul about this. I feel as I'm abandoning my affections to Jesus Christ, He compels me to pour out His love that He is filling my soul with, even in these outward, lavish kind of ways. I do not feel some dichotomy between this spiritual experience of the love of God filling my soul and these outward experiences where this love is being fleshed out in real time towards those that He has put in my life. And sadly, Paul Washer, to his own shame, is promoting the Church of Wells to be something that is just an illusion, just a myth in his own mind. And by God's grace, since I have been a pastor in the Church of Wells, not just since the beginning of the church or before the church began, but since the church has been and I've been a pastor here, I have kayaked up a river with my dad, and loving my dad and honoring my dad and being with my dad, and it was a delight to be with my dad. And by God's grace, me and my wife have seen a sunset and have woken up early and cuddled together there on a bench on the eastern seaboard and watched the sun rise over the North Atlantic. And it was beautiful and ravishing, and we were delighted to behold God's creation. But this point of what does 1 John 2:15 and 16 mean and what does it not mean, it is not that we cannot love the things that God has created and has ordained that we would delight in Him concerning. This is not about that at all. But what we need to talk about and what Paul Washer needs to answer to is the ways in which he has truly begun to embrace both those that love the world and the love of the world himself. Why does Paul Washer speak of worldly movies on his Twitter? Why does Paul Washer lay hands upon worldly men like Lecrae, Trip Lee, and their fellow rappers and call them men of integrity? Why does Paul Washer speak and commune with men like Les Landfear or men like Jeff Durbin? Why does he allow them to preach in his pulpit? Why does he speak to them and commune with them and have no problems with the way that they are conducting their lives with a clear love of the world? Why does Paul Washer not openly reprove his wife or restrain her from speaking about the world in the way that she does? This is what we really need to talk about. We don't need to be distracted with myths and slanderous, libelous accusations against the Church of Wells that we are just cold, heartless, unfeeling ascetics. But there is real worldliness that is going on unbridled, unchecked, and unrebuked. And if this love of the world continues, then the love of the Father will not abide in the soul of this man, whoever it is, even Paul Washer. So be not deceived, dear viewer. This is a serious matter, and this is an answer to those who would be simply deceived by such words as Paul Washer spoke in this video. May God open your eyes, and may God truly fill your heart with this love of God in your heart and displace and remove all love of the world. For His name's sake, God bless you.